Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Glowing Stitches. If you are new to this channel, please do well to subscribe. Turn on the notification bell to get notified whenever I post new videos. In today's tutorial, I'll guide you through the step-by-step process of cutting this beautiful corset gown. So let's get started. First things first, you will be needing your desired fabric and your measurements to work with. For this tutorial, we will be making use of this beautiful African Ankara print. Moving on, get the full length of your gown and minus your half length from it. That is to say, if your full length is 57 and your half length is 18, take out 18 or 17 from your full length. Whatever you have is what we'll be working with at this point. So fold into two like so. Fold your fabric into two like so, because we are marking out on fold. We'll be using full length of 57 minus half length of 17. It will give us 41. 57 minus 17 will give us 41. So you mark out 41 inches at this point. Mark out 41 inches at this point plus your folding in allowance, at least 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So you can see what we have here. The upper part, 17 inches, we took out. Add it together to the 41 inches, will give you back the full length of your gown. From that point, mark out your hip point, 9 inches. Ensure that your fabric is well folded and not wasted. So at this point, I was trying to readjust my fabric because I had extra allowances at the side. So I was trying to rearrange it to mark out my hip measurement. Whatever your hip measurement is, divide it by 4 and mark it. For the waist measurement, that's the half length, whatever you have, divided by 4 plus 2.5 inches for that. Move on to the hip, whatever you have, divided by 4 plus 2 inches allowance, 2 inches extra allowance. For more emphasis, the waist measurement is 28 divided by 4, 7 inches plus 2.5 inches including the dart. For the hip measurement, 42 inches divided by 4, 11 plus 2 inches extra. So after marking that out, curve out the lines. Curve out very well and carefully. You can use your ruler, you can use your free hand. Just ensure to have that curvy shape at the hip point. Connect the lines down to your waistline. Connect the lines from your waistline downwards. So for the down part of this gown, use your waist measurement. For this measurement, we used 28 inches for the waist divided by 4, which gave us 7 inches plus 2.5 inches. Remember that. So we moved down that measurement for the down part. We used 7 inches plus 2 inches for the down part. 2 inches, you can make yours 1.5 depending on how fitted you want the down part of your pencil gown to be. So I moved down that 7 inches plus 2 inches extra for the down part and curve it downwards. Connect the lines downwards, and like I said, you can make yours wider than that depending on how fitted you want the down part or you want your pencil to be like. Ensure to notch your middle point as always. That way you'll be able to mark out your darts or sew out your darts easily while sewing. The notch enables us to know our middle point. After cutting, take that piece out, bring back your remaining fabric and fold into two again. Place the part which you cut out on top of the fabric. Place on it. Mark out 2.5 inches extra from the middle point like so. 2.5 inches. The essence of these 2.5 inches is for the slit at the back and the zipper allowance for the skirt. After marking out the 2.5 inches, cut out exactly what you have, like so. I hope we understand this part. After cutting out, move on to marking out the length of your slit on that 2.5 inches extra we marked out. Mark out the length of your sleeve from the bottom of your skirt. So mark out 18 inches from that folding in allowance or 20 inches after including the folding in allowance. I don't know if you understand this part. So you can make yours 20 or more depending on how long you want your slit to be at the back. Now move on to the top of the skirt and mark out half of that 2.5 inches. That is to say, if you divide 2.5 inches by 2. After marking out those lines you marked out, move on to cutting. And after cutting, you would have something like this. Don't forget to separate the down part of it, that's the slits. Don't forget to separate them. From the middle point, mark 4 inches. For your darts, it could be 3.5 depending on your measurement, but we'll be making use of 4. Notch out that point, the remaining half of the 2.5 inches for your zipper allowance. Open up and you'd have something like this. Now let's move on to cutting out the upper part of our gown. Start by marking out the basics of your measurements. That's the bust point, under bust, half length, shoulders and armhole. Please note that you are cutting on fold. I have limited amounts of paper, that is why I didn't fold mine before marking out the measurements. So ensure to fold yours before marking out your measurements. On the folded paper or folded fabric, from the middle point, mark out 4 inches from the middle point like so, from the bust point down to the half length. From the bust point, move up by 2 inches. The essence of these 2 inches is to determine your chest line. So move up by 2 inches and mark out. From the center front, mark out half inch like so and rule. I hope we don't get confused at this point. Let us label our lines for easy understanding and identification. we have our chest line, bust point, under bust, and half length. From the under bust, that point where you marked out 4 inches, mark out 1.5 inches on both sides, like so. 1.5 inches for the left and right. Same applies to the half length, 1.5 inches for both the left and right. After doing that, you rule the lines out like so. After rolling out those lines, connect the lines upwards to the bust point like so. And from that bust point, extend your 4 inches line upwards towards the chest line like so. Mark out 1.5 inches on both sides of the chest line and connect the lines like so. Connect the one on the left to the bust point and repeat the same thing for the one on the left. You would have something like this after doing that. After doing that, measure what you have from the middle point. That's that point where you have your half inch. Measure that point to your bust point, to that point. Exactly what you have is what you will mark on the other side. Just watch carefully and you would understand what I'm trying to explain. So for this tutorial, for this pattern, we have 3.5, 3.5. So we are going to move the 3.5 to the other side of the pattern or of the paper. Yours could be more than that. Yours could be 4, depending on the measurement. After moving the 3.5 to the other side, connect a curved line downwards towards the under bust, like so. Connect a curved line also from the half inch downwards towards the under bust. And for the upper part, move up by 1 inch like so. Connect the lines and curve towards the armhole like so. And for the center front, or let's say the folded side, move on to marking out 9 inches from your shoulders, depending on how deep you want that point to be, or depending on how revealing you want it to be. So you could take yours higher than that or lower than that, but for the sake of this, we would be making use of 9 inches. Mark that point like so and curve. After curving the lines, you would have something like this. Extend the dart lines and strike out, because we are going to be taking out those striked out lines. For the neckline, we would be making use of 2.5 by 2.5. Move on to your shoulder slants by half inch. For the armhole, move in a bit by half inch and curve out the lines. Now move on to the bodice. For the bust point, whatever your bust measurement is, divided by 4 plus 3 inches That 3 inches is to replace the one we striked out. Move on to your waist measurement. Whatever your waist measurement is, divide by 4 plus the 3 inches we striked out and your sewing in allowance 2 inches. Don't forget to add your sewing in allowance for the bust point also. So connect the lines like so and cut. Cut out the yoke part first and have something like this. Cut out that part where we striked out and cut out every other part like so. After doing that, we would have something like this. If you get confused, make sure to label with numbers or alphabets like so. That way, you would remember how to place while sewing.